Hey guys, Coach Mike here, and I'm here to answer a few questions relating to how we've structured our first term of 2022. So I've got a list of some questions that I feel might provide you guys with some more information, and hopefully we can combat any queries that you might have in regards to our programming. So, question number 1. Massive Workouts introduced 17-week terms this year. Talk to us about the reasoning behind this. So the 17-week term, it's going to be broken up into 3 5-week microcycles, and depending on what term it is or what the outcomes are for that specific term, it can be structured very differently. So for our first term of this year, our 3 5-week microcycles, the first 5 weeks is dedicated to general conditioning, which we feel is very important because everyone's coming out of that Christmas New Year break. Some people might be taking holidays. So that first 5-week block is catered towards making sure that everyone's set the right foundations in terms of movement. So the second 5-week block of this term is going to be a strength block, which is going to run for 8 weeks. So it's going to drip feed a little into the next 5-week block after that. But it's important that we set the right foundations when it comes to strength and movement, because it'll translate to a lot of the adaptations that we're looking to achieve over the next few blocks. So having that foundation there becomes crucial in allowing our members to perform at the most optimal level. So within the 5-week microcycle, the 5th and final week is always going to be dedicated to a choose your own workout style week, where members have the opportunity to choose whatever routines that they want to perform, but 2 of those routines are still going to be coached by us. Next question. Choose your own workout week sounds like a risky move for a lot of coaches because you're giving free rein to your athletes. Is it worth the risk? What's the logic behind it? All right, so choose your own workout weeks is something that we've chosen to implement moving forward from this year, because it allows the coaches to pull back away from hands-on coaching and dedicate time in the office to spend with our members to discuss their goals, what they want to achieve, and just making sure that we're able to keep their goals on track. The challenging thing with coaching is we don't always have the luxury of time. We only see these members for 1 to 2 hours per day, and most of the time they're there to train, not to discuss their goals or to have that check-in with the coaches. So by having this choose your own workout week where members come in and they decide what to do, it gives us the platform as coaches to pull people in individually and have that chat just to make sure that we've got everyone in check and that they're moving forward the right way. It's very difficult when we've got 150 to 200 members and we don't dedicate a week like this, because you're going to have some members who are more diligent than others and they're always willing to check in with the coaches and tell us what's going on. And then you might have the quiet athletes who are happy to just go into the gym, work out, get the job done and leave. And it's important for us to make sure that we're facilitating the right sort of progress for all athletes. On to the next question. With essentially no coaches being on the floor, what fail-safe measures do you have in place to make sure the members get their week's worth of training? Really good question. You know what? It's a very, very risky move to have a week where members decide and dictate the intensity of their own routines. It all comes down to how much faith we have in our members and how well we've taught them as coaches. So funny thing is, with the week being over, members actually did better than we expected them to. Of course, some members were tripped up at the thought of having to decide how to do their own workout, but once we spoke to them through the routines, they were all good to go. A week like this week signifies how much growth we've instilled into our members. I can remember 3-4 years ago, we would have never done anything like this. I feel like with the way that we've coached over the years and all the new systems and strategies that we've employed, we've really put our members in a position for them to be confident about getting through a workout on their own terms and really finding that intensity and delivering it in the way that we want them to. In terms of fail-safe measures, the coaches are still there inside the gym. We're always going to have more than one coach on the floor. So one coach will be dedicated to having those check-ins with our athletes, while the other coach will be floating around there to answer any questions. But for the most part, the athletes are there on their own, doing their own thing. How does this then feed into the next block of your program? Do the choose your own workout weeks translate well into the next phase of the program? Answer's always going to be yes. We've put a lot of thought into how we've structured our 17-week term. And I think it's good to remember that 17 weeks is pretty long. So to have that 1 week break, not break, but 1 week where members are able to choose their own workout every single 5 weeks, I think it serves as an important tool for our athletes to acknowledge as it being almost like an assessment week. It doesn't have to be an assessment where the coaches sit down and assess you, but it can be self-reflection. Members can spend this time thinking about how their last 4 weeks of training were like and what they'd like to accomplish in the next 4 to 5 weeks or for the remainder of the term. The way that you can think of it is almost like a deload week, where not so much the intensity is reduced, but members have that opportunity to pull back away from the coaches, not have the coaches in their ear or not have the coaches' voices carry them through the workout. They're actually a lot more mindful and thoughtful when they go through these routines because they're deciding or they're making the decisions for themselves as to how they're going to get through the workout. So in terms of how it translates into the next phase, like I said, our members are always going to utilize this as an assessment week. They'll always know what the next training phase is going to be, what the outcomes are, so they can really spend this time thinking about what they can be doing to set themselves up in the right way for that next phase. Even from a coach's point of view, us having that 1 week when we assess our members and have the time to chat with them individually, it gives us more insight into what the members are wanting, what the members are needing, and that will always allow us to manipulate the next phase of the training program in the way that we want it to. What can we expect from the next phase of training? Well, as I mentioned earlier, the next phase of training is going to be a strength block, and this is going to go for 8 weeks, meaning that it's going to drip feed into the third and final microcycle of this term. And the whole point of this strength phase is to lay the right foundations for all the adaptations that we're looking to achieve in the next phase of training. And this next phase of training is going to be more energy system conditioning focused. So one thing that we focus primarily on at Massive Workouts is energy system conditioning. Our body has 3 main energy systems which it utilizes for any sort of athletic performance. You've got your aerobic, cardio, you've got your anaerobic, and you've got your ATP PC. So having that strength phase preceding the energy system conditioning phase will always serve as the right foundation because our members can then translate all the strength gains that they've made in that phase into their delivery for the next phase of training. Will it always be the same format? General conditioning and then strength and then into energy system conditioning? Good question. The answer is no. The way that we structure our terms is always going to be dynamic. It's going to be based on the seasons, it's going to be based on the feedback that our team gives us, and it's also going to be dictated by the observations that we pick up during each and every single term or each and every microcycle. So for example, leading up to the spring-summer months, we typically increase our frequency of running and we increase cardiovascular output during those months because for a lot of people heading into those months, losing that extra few kilos that they've put on during the colder months is a goal. And conversely, in those colder months where people might be carrying a few extra kilos, doing something like a strength block will serve so favorably because those extra kilos can translate well into strength. So it really depends. It depends on a lot of variables and we always take that into consideration. The coaching staff will always be discussing what we feel is best for our members. Last question. Without giving too much away, what can members expect to be the #1 outcome of the first term of 2022? Nice question to finish on. The outcomes that we always look to accomplish is progression. Everyone should be improving on a daily basis, and the way that we write up our programs is to achieve that. Can be progress in any area. Can be strength, can be cardiovascular output, it can be growth in our 5 pillars: sleep, nutrition, training, recovery, and mindset. Any sort of growth we feel is going to be a huge win. So the #1 thing that members can expect to get out of the first term, I think it's laying the right foundations for the rest of the year. One thing that we've made a huge importance this year is to check in with coaches, which is why this format that we've adopted for this year works so well. There's more accountability involved, and I think setting the right tone and intentions for the first term of the year, that's going to set the right path for all of our members heading into term 2 and the final term of the year. So, hope that answers all your questions.